fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream. Refreshing wild cherry cola meets smooth cream. The treat you deserve. Pepsi Wild Cherry and Cream. Treat yourself.
Back with another episode of The Blue Turf. It's been a little bit, and I think there's a lot to talk about, although I don't think we can cover it all. This is That Bell from the KC Soccer Journal with me, Eric Bergrud, part of the Comets broadcast team, and does so many other things. How you doing, Eric?
Duties assigned. Hey, since it's March 17th when we're recording it, happy St. Patrick's Day, Thad, and to all our listeners.
Are you, well, you're wearing green. Are you going to do anything St. Patrick's Day-ish?
I haven't planned on it yet, but hey, it's not midnight yet. Who knows?
Very true. Although, again, caution everybody, St. Patrick's Day is a fun day, but it is also amateur night when everybody goes out drinking who aren't used to it.
Please don't be stupid.
Right. Okay. 2 games over the last weekend. One in Kansas City versus San Diego. One in San Diego for Kansas City on the road. Saturday, Sunday. Saturday, little disappointing for how the game went. What was the final score there? 5-4, 6-5? Dang it.
6-5 in
Yeah.
overtime. Yep.
So overtime loss for the Comets. Like, I had all these other things pulled up and I didn't have the score right in front of me. So anyway, they drop it in overtime. They were down. They came back, made it exciting, at least ended up pulling a point out of it because they could have lost all 3 points.
Indeed, they could have lost all 3 points, and for a while, it looked like they were going to hold on, and somehow, some way, San Diego, particularly on the road, finds a way to come back. It's just uncanny how they do that. So just when you think maybe this is going to be the Comets' night, everything considered, game tying goal on a toe poke near post by Nilton DeAndrade. And let me just say, Nicolau Neto, we could talk about him being inserted in the lineup, 23 saves. So he kept the Comets in the game for most of that stretch where they were trying to come back.
Yeah, we've talked up Philip Ejimadu a lot this year, last year. Neto had a heck of a game.
He did, and I was, I think I was having this conversation off air. I'm not sure. I might have had it on air too, but you've sort of limited yourselves in terms of what you can do to shake up the team, right? So
Yeah.
you missed the trade deadline, didn't make any trades. In fact, I think I said that on air. And so what was left, there'd been some changes in the lineup, but really it's kind of like in hockey, the pulling the goalie thing, if you want to look at it that way, that's one of those tried and true ways to try to get people's attention. And Neto was terrific. The Comets almost pulled that one out, but they didn't, and wound up back with Ejimadu in goal on Sunday, who had a solid game for them too. No disrespect at all to Ejimadu. It's just,
No.
if you have a team that's reeling, and what I mean by reeling is they were first place most of the season, and then they dropped to 5th and were skirting 6th, you have to do something to to shake things up.
So they fail to close out the game, and as it seems to often happen, whoever ties up the game at the end to make it go to overtime is the one that wins it because they have that little bit of momentum. Disappointing, but the next day they travel to San Diego. They have we'll come in. We'll discuss this a little bit more later, but they'll be missing a key player in Chad Vandegrift, and they go into San Diego and have a pretty darn good response. What I mean, what did you see there?
Yeah, let me take a half step back. So you mentioned Chad Vandegrift. They wound up playing a full second half plus without Vandegrift
Yep.
on Saturday, and I thought that they did a terrific job defensively in his absence. So they showed in the second half on Saturday they could find a way to adapt. One of the interesting things about this weekend, and then we'll see it the following weekend, is something that I've heard multiple times from Brian Budzinski in terms of scheduling. When you've got a home and home weekend series, the team that travels first has to travel twice.
Right.
And
They're at the
so
disadvantage.
they're at a disadvantage. San Diego had to travel both ways. And then my understanding is they left their hotel at 2-ish in the morning on I'm not sure if that was 2 Pacific or 2 Central on Sunday, connected through Vegas to get to San Diego. Comets had a direct flight, and so San Diego's legs were spent. So the scheduling worked against them, I thought, and right away on Sunday, it was clear that the Comets were a fresher team, and, yeah, somebody I thought who played terrifically for San Diego Saturday, Stepan Mijatovic, he came up. Yeah, Marquez didn't score on Saturday. That he was held scoreless
Yep.
for the first time in a long time. You could tell that Mijatovic was still working his way back into game shape. His legs were spent, and, there was one goal in particular where, Stankovic cut him right and then came in and cut him left and got what wound up being a fairly easy goal against Boris Pardo. I just think San Diego, tired legs, too many injuries, and it definitely caught up, to them this weekend.
Oh, it did, but and as you will often say, you gotta overcome these things, right? Everybody has to do it. Comets are on the beneficial side of that road trip and the next one, although it's not as drastic since it's a day apart, right? But you have to do it, and this is the time when everybody has to step up and win.
Well, so here's the interesting thing that, I think Nick Vassos might have mentioned on air is this is the most losses that San Diego has had, particularly in the Salvaggio, the modern era, and so,
Yeah.
yes, they're battling for first, but if you look at their record compared to previous years, this is an off year for San Diego. I think what you can say is, sure, they've had injuries, etcetera. They're getting part of their lineup's getting older, but there's been better competitive balance across the league this year, and San Diego's not just putting teams away like they would have in the past.
And yeah, just the we talked about how the reduction in teams would improve the competitive balance across most of the league. Not everybody has been a whole lot better, but they've even been a little bit better at Utica. But you have 5 teams that could end up in first place. Most likely, there's only the top 2 there, and then 3 other teams battling for second and through fifth. But it's pretty tight right now.
Well, yeah, and, San Diego has all sorts of questions. They have St. Louis, who we've discussed St. Louis ad nauseum this year at that. They play a competitive brand of soccer in every game. You never know what to expect of them, and then
Yeah.
that final weekend, home and away with Kansas City. What to expect, we'll see. So there's no guarantees for San Diego. For Kansas City, run the table, and then we'll see where you're at. And this weekend is really interesting because Baltimore comes in with a lot of confidence, 8-game winning streak, but they play Saturday night in Kansas City. Then they go Sunday to Milwaukee. That's a pretty tough weekend against 2 really competitive teams, and so we're gonna
Yep.
find out a lot about Baltimore's character this weekend, but maybe going back to the San Diego game, I thought the defense was terrific, even though they gave up a few late goals against the 6 attacker. Uh, Pino was strong. There was no, you mentioned Vandegrift was out. Tetsane didn't make the trip, so we saw some different pieces in there. Nathan Dirtle was on odd shifts. Chase Peterson was playing. I thought DeBray Holloman had a terrific game, scored a goal for the first time in a while too,
Yeah.
and so you win championships through your defense, and I thought that the defense, and that includes Ejimadu plus the defenders, really stepped up Sunday.
Yeah, I would totally agree, and I think I've mentioned many times this year that I've felt like Debray has played better this year than previous years. I'm always surprised when he's not in the lineup, and I don't know sometimes if it's an injury or a nagging injury or it's the choice that coach is making. Chase Peterson again played really well, I thought.
He's gonna want that header back at the end of the was it
Yeah,
the first quarter where he tried to head the ball back and Tavoy slammed one with less than a second left, but beyond that, I thought that Chase was solid too. And then, a big game from Rion, 3 goals, 2 assists, and all of a sudden, he's back in the points lead, and, I might have mentioned this early on. Before the season started, Kenny Mayer pulled me aside as Kenny Mayer is, prone to do, and he said, "I'm calling it right here, Rion Marquez, MVP of the league," and Rion has a legitimate shot. He just has to score points, multi points in the rest of these games. It looks like it's gonna be Marquez versus Sanchez, and, we'll see who winds up on top.
yeah, because as of right now, Rion's on top with points. Sanchez is top with goals,
Mhm.
so could go either way.
Yeah.
Depends on who gets to vote. I don't get to vote.
Well, I do get to vote. What's interesting is I won't out the team, but I heard from one of my colleagues in another team who was making a case for players and the coach on that team. I'm like, "You better get some friends." Me that's what it comes down to is,
Yeah,
I can't remember the formula, but there's some announcers, there's players, there's coaches, and I can't remember who gets what percentage of the votes, but, um, yeah, my comment is with the fewer teams this year, I think it's easier. Everybody's seen everybody.
yep.
It's not like there are any obscure teams where you can say, "Oh, I didn't really catch that many Chihuahua games," or, "Oh, I didn't catch, Harrisburg," or whatever else. We've seen everybody. We've seen everybody. When Baltimore comes here this weekend, we will have seen everybody in person in Kansas City too, so there shouldn't be too many excuses regarding somebody who got overlooked.
Earlier you had mentioned that Lucia played on Saturday but did not make the trip on Sunday, which I was really surprised at myself. A family member of mine was at the game on Saturday night, and I didn't get to see as much of the first half, especially because of doing stuff that had nothing to do with the actual game. And by the time I got up I went up and sat in a seat. I didn't shoot the game, and I'm sitting next to a family member, and they're like, because they couldn't remember Lucia's name, and they're like, that guy, who is he? I'm like, Lucia Dasani, one of their best players. And they go, he's been terrible. And I'm like, what? Said he was not playing well. So I don't know. I mean, you watched the entire game. Obviously, I have not went back and watched the entire game. Just some goals.
Nothing that I recall there,
Okay,
and, I mean, for me, he's been a difference maker.
he's
Awards are awards. I think you could argue he's been the MVP of the team just
yeah,
because here you have somebody who's kinda bridged that gap, a la a, Kim Rundfeld player, where he's giving you what you need defensively, and then he's scoring a lot of goals that, it's something that they've missed for quite some time.
yeah. I was surprised that that person was saying it, but I have
Mhm,
usually respected their opinion at least
mhm,
somewhat. So
mhm,
anyway, that's why I just wanted to ask. I'm not.
mhm.
I Lucia has been really one of the better players all season long for the Comets. So all right, okay. So the loss Saturday in overtime, the win on Sunday. They get that. They at least have moved up to fourth, and they clinched a playoff spot for sure. So they will be in the playoffs, which is good. right now we had thought they would be competing for a top 2 spot, and they still could if they win out. But it's looking more like a 3, 4, 5 position, depending on how they play the rest of the season. Any thoughts on that?
I don't know how many times on air I've mentioned why points are important, and you
Yep.
want to one or two at this time of year. I get the notion that teams get rusty and maybe it's okay not to have the bye, but every team is banged up to one degree or another. And I think that if you had your druthers, you'd rather have a week to rest and play that first playoff series as healthy as you can be. But ultimately, if you want to win the championship, you know which teams you're going to have to beat. So whether you have an extra series in there, so be it. Right now, I
There's gonna
haven't seen. We'll see when we see Baltimore. That yes, they're on a roll right now, but I haven't seen a team this year where I could conclude there's no way the Comets take them out. I think
Right.
every team in this league is beatable.
Yep.
So, you know, ultimately, it's what momentum do you have going into the playoffs, and are you ready to take on that challenge? Whether you're a 3rd seed, a 4th seed, or a 5th seed.
Yeah, and they have the chance to go into the playoffs hot if they can win out. They have the chance to go into the playoffs cold if they lose out, because all 3 of those games are winnable. All 3 of those games are relatively easy to lose if they don't come and play as well as they could.
Well, yeah, and with the playoff format, you would rather have home field advantage because except for the last round, which has an asterisk on it, first game goes to the lower seed, second game to the higher seed, plus a potential 15-minute do or die after that.
Right.
You want to have that opportunity at home if you have the choice.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Have we discussed these 2 games enough? I mean, we haven't went into a ton of detail because there's 2 games there, and there's a few other things I think we need to discuss.
I
We'll take
can
a
only imagine what you're talking about, Dad. So hit me with it.
Okay, well, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
All right. We are officially back from this really long break that we took. Hopefully you feel refreshed. After the game Saturday, an action that took place in the game was commented upon by managing partner Brian Budzinski, sent out by social media, and there was criticism of referee Rich Grady. I mean, I hate calling out referees by name in some of these situations, but this is one that you kind of have to. And there was a red card issued to Chad Vandegrift. I did not see it live, so again, I saw replays, and it did not look like a red card to me at that time. But I've also, how many times have we done this? And we say, when you originally see it, you might see one thing, and when you see the replay, you see something different. I don't know who, which I don't know who had the best view on it. I don't know if there could have been other angles or whatever, but it didn't look like a red card to me. But again, I want to at least give it a little benefit of the doubt that whoever the referee that called it was legit. But I know I've seen a lot of plays this year that I don't think were called correctly. I see that in every sport at every level. But Brian Budzinski criticized the league, Rich Grady, and how that was handled overall. Just any thoughts on that part of it?
Oh, I have all sorts of thoughts. I'm just trying to figure out how to place them together. Let's start with fan reaction to the original Comets post. A lot of attaboys from Comets fans, but I didn't see anybody immediately start a GoFundMe to pay for that fine. So it was glad you did it, but I'm not putting out my credit card to help offset that. And the fine was inevitable
Yeah.
in any sport, directly criticizing an official or criticizing the league. It would happen. So if any Comets fans were surprised by that, I'm not sure why. I think that how I mentioned that Neto, his insertion possibly was done to shake up the lineup. Well,
Yeah.
it was interesting to watch player reaction on social media to that post. And y- it's never just one thing bad, but it looked like players responded positively on Sunday after having read that post. And so um, you have that there too. But then fast forward to Tuesday morning. It's Tuesday when we're recording this. The Comets put out on social the league's response to it, which includes the rescinding of the red card, a and note that the Comets are going to be fined for this. And
Right.
then the league followed up with their own statement, and social media is kind of blown up about all this. Sort of as an aside, one of the TV stations in town, not Nick Bassos's, actually ran a story on this whole controversy. So this story has had legs, and the league now is trying to figure out what's going. What's interesting heading into Baltimore, I know who's going to be the refereeing that day, and so what does this do? What does this do for the psyche of referees moving forward? I think that's a legit question, and you know, there's in every league, particularly in soccer leagues, both domestically, you cover NWSL and MLS, and you see it in just about every league in the world. Everybody complains about the referees, and
Yeah.
so uh, I don't know how you can have an objective conversation about quality of referees in the particular problem of the MASL, and maybe this is where I take how I feel about this, that is, I I read a lot of comments about fans saying the referees don't know the rules. I would say, A, some of the rules are complicated and contradictory.
Yeah.
B, I'm not sure how well broadly everybody understands the rules. And going back to that Vandegrift situation, I've been trying to kind of walk myself through what were the options available on video review, which I've kind of come to a place to understand how the result could have been a top of the arc restart. But uh, the rules aren't as simple as people want to make them out to be. That's no excusing of anything. I would just like to see the competition committee over the summer take a real hard look at video review, take a real hard look at the challenge rule, and
Yeah.
sort of decide what are we trying to do here, and is this helping or not?
I know you are not in favor always of VAR. I am. However, I would like the rules to be clear. I would like the rules of what the fouls are and how they're called to be more clear. I would like to be able to read those rules and go, in this particular situation, this is what should happen. And then you could criticize a ref if they didn't do that. Now, I will. Oh man, I had a chat with a MASL ref this year, not that was not refing the game at the time, and they were discussing how, yeah, we take a look at these and we try to review these, but at times our boss doesn't even know what we should call there. I'm like,
Yeah, and that's the point, is that I think that there's too much gray in the rule book, and so you go back to that situation in the second quarter in Kansas City. Was there original foul on DeAndrade? Was there contact before the goal by Vandergriff?
yeah,
Uh, if there was contact by Vandegrift that led to the goal, but it wasn't a red card. Should that have been an option for them? I ultimately, because the audio wasn't working, separate issue, Thad, I've sort of come to the conclusion that the top of the arc restart, uh, you could argue that there was a foul before the play, before the goal went in on DeAndrade in the penalty box, but because it didn't rise to a penalty kick, it was top of the arc restart. How many people know the distinction that between fouls in the penalty box that are penalty kicks versus those that aren't, that should be top of the arc restarts?
Right.
It, it's not as easy as a lot of people would have you make it, and
And it is more clear in outdoor
oh,
soccer.
it's way clearer in outdoor. There's so
But
many, but what
you can
ifs?
still have
If,
weirdness in outdoor, but it's a
right,
little bit
but if
different.
A and B happen, then you have to call it with C. It's just extrememely complicated, and so yeah, seeing comments from, "Oh, we just need to fire all the refs and get better refs," and really, you
Where
try you try reffing with some of this gray and see how well you're gonna get, or consistent calling of a game. It's just complex, and I think that maybe there's an opportunity for the league to take a hard look at it. I know you can't change everything, but
right.
there's some situational things that create a lot of interpretation where it's not cut and dry.
They can definitely add some clarity. So let me think this through for a second. So there was a top of the arc restart because there was a foul in the box, but they took away a goal that scored because because there was a red card.
So it's not clear to me, and the audio was not working,
Right.
so we didn't hear the full explanation in arena when it happened. I'm just trying to figure out the application of the rules that would get you there. I think the other issue is, was there a clear and obvious error, right? So you look at the call on the field is a red card,
Right.
right? Where it seems to be the the rub on this is, in a lot of people's perspective, it was a clear and obvious error on video, and the refereeing crew didn't agree with that, right?
Right.
So, um, and and so there's the rub, and I think what also maybe exacerbated feelings on this, and maybe led to um, where we're at, is it wasn't just that; it was in overtime when the assistant referee called blew his whistle, called too many men on the field. They brought it to review. They looked at it once from different angles, put down the headset, talked about it, picked up the headset, looked at it a second time, talked about it, put down the headset, picked up a headset the third time, looked at it, and then waved it off. So here's the problem is, again, for me, an interpretation of what's clear and obvious error, right? So
Right.
the assistant referee who's like watching the benches, he sees, or at the moment he saw, too many men on the field. They went through multiple video angles, and in none of them could you see six players on the field. However, you could also argue that you didn't see the full width of the
Right.
field that would tell you all the way down on the San Diego side whether there was an extra person there. It's just in the clip part of the field you couldn't see that extra person. What discretion should the referee have there? And so play this out hypothetically. Say the call stood and the Comets scored and the Comets won. What would the reaction have been? Don't know, but uh, I think one of the questions that's in my mind is, what does clear and obvious mean?
And that's the problem in any sport that has a video review
Yep.
of some form because they all
Yep.
have some kind of standard that things should not be overturned unless it's clear and obvious or some version of that phrase. So
So
that
and here's the thing. Yeah, people clamored for VR video review in this
yeah,
league. They clamored for it. And then it doesn't work as perfectly as you think it's going to work. Has it made the league better? I think the league would argue yes, from a competitive basis. I know I've talked to Ryan Sigich, the director of officials, about it, and he's a supporter of it. But
That's one thing Ryan and I agreed about.
I, I,
I know you don't, but then that's
well, I
okay.
don't agree about glass up, so I know I'm in the minority in Kansas City, or glass down versus glass up. So I'm gonna sit on my island and just talk to myself on this. But I get where opinion is on it. I just think
Yeah,
in both those cases with video review and the glass down, it has negative repercussions for the game.
kind of surprised you like the glass up.
Oh, I love the glass up. Answer me this, right? If the goal is to get MASL games to 2 hours ish so you could be in a clear broadcast window like MLS
Yeah,
is, how do you do that with the glass down? The ball is kicked out so many times, and the flow of play stops. You go from balls going one direction to the other with, okay, ball's going out of play. We're either getting a top of the arc restart or we're getting a line change. It just slowed the game out tremendously. And that 1 year during COVID where we had glass up, the games were faster.
they were. I won't argue that. I just perceive it from a visibility point of view for as a fan. I like the glass down because it's easier to see things, but that's in my opinion.
Hey, somehow the NHL has existed for eons with the glass up, and I get it. It just I could also make the argument it gives the offense uh, or the defense actually a competitive disadvantage because at least in hockey you can use the boards to wrap around when you're trying to
Yeah.
kill a penalty, and in indoor soccer you're at the mercy of everything.
Well, the goal isn't built into the wall that you'd be trying to clear it through either. So,
Well, there is that too.
having played a little bit of both, not very much
Yep.
hockey, but roller hockey with boards, I've done that same move, and I've
Yeah.
done that in
Yeah.
indoor where I've cleared the ball down the wall and angling it up so it would go over my own goal, but
Yep.
hoping that it would still come back around the other side.
Yep.
And
Well,
usually it
so
worked.
but in the end, right, going back to where you started this, Comets issued the statement, the league responded, the league announced a fine, the
Yes.
league won't speak publicly about any discipline that might occur in the referees' ranks. Fans who are upset about everything already are even more upset now, and so here we are, and it's gonna be interesting to see what the mood is gonna be at Cable Dom Arena on Saturday night.
All right. So let's. I want to run back through this just real quick again. So I apologize. The statement came out after the game Saturday. Uh, Not sure when it came out now. I forget. Was it Saturday night or Sunday morning?
I think it was I saw it Sunday morning.
Yeah, that's when I saw it. But so you mentioned that I saw it as three potential reasons that Brian could have said this. Right. One, he was just pissed and he just needed to just yell into the wind. Right. I don't think he is. I'm not going to say he's never been mad enough to have done it. I just don't think it would have been a smart decision to do for that reason. Two, you legitimately want to try to affect some change of better refereeing. And again, you said like fans will say, fire all the refs, hire new refs. There's just not a pool of refs sitting out there that are ready to come work for MASL at whatever salary MASL is paying. If they're better refs, they might be working for MLS or USL Championship or NWSL. And some of those same refs, I mean, I saw a ref at the current game who was at the Comets game. I don't think he was in any official capacity. He might have been just the extra ref there, but he was there. And Drew Klimp, great ref. He was the fourth official at the current game, but he was there right after. I saw him walking in. Anyway, you have some of the same officials who referee at the NWSL level, at the MLS level, at USL level, at high college level that are in MASL. Now there are some that I've never seen ref at those other levels that have been around for a while. but I know they got there for a reason. So anyway, if you're wanting to affect change to be better refs, have something in there, maybe that's a reason. But the third reason that I think you had kind of alluded to was firing up your team, equivalent of, a college basketball coach throwing a chair across the floor and
Or a
getting kicked
baseball
out.
manager yelling at
Yes.
an umpire and getting
Kicking
tossed.
dirt on the
Yep,
on the
yep,
umpire's shoes,
yep,
all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
yep.
And you walk off with a smile knowing that you might have just helped your team win. Comets have been in a bit of a rut. They've not performed as well over a number of games as we would have expected them to with the talent they have on that team. And they may have needed a firing, a little something to fire them up. So I don't know which one it is. I assume it's somewhere between the second and the third one. I don't think Brian would be mad enough to make an official statement and make sure it was sent out. I've seen him mad before, but I think he always was more restrained at that point.
Yeah, I um, I don't read minds, but
Right.
as I said earlier, it's usually not just one thing bad.
Right.
The caution on this is, so you've got Baltimore coming in, it's gonna be a competitive game. You've got a referee in that crew who has a long history with the Comets. Uh, how do you focus on the game now and
Right.
not make anything about the referee? Because you've seen it over the years too many times where you have a team that they they get so focused on calls that they lose track of the game. And something that Coach Stokic has preached all the time is we've got to focus on we got to focus on the game, and we got to put the referee out of our minds. I mean that is so it
Yeah.
becomes a really good opportunity for Coach Stokic to coach, right? Psychologically, okay, we've gotten past the San Diego weekend. We got past the red card. It got rescinded. Now we've got Baltimore. They're the first place team. We haven't played well against them recently. How are we going to make a statement here? By the way, last time that Baltimore played in Kansas City, I'll date this a few years. It was William Manzella in goal, and Baltimore won at Cable Dahmer Arena. So it's been a while since the Comets have beaten Baltimore.
Yeah.
How do you focus on the task at hand? It's You're not playing on a small field. You can't worry about that. How do you win at home when winning at home, kind of like what San Diego's finding out at Front Wave, it's not as easy as you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, which it has been kind of amazing that they used to be pretty much unbeatable at home and they moved to their own place and they have not struggled, but struggled compared to their old days.
Well, how about the Comets? It wasn't just a couple years ago, Thad, where they were dominant at home and they were
Yep.
just struggling on the road. Look at their records. You could argue they're a better road team this year than they've been at home.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. And maybe it's in a lot of sports, the team that is at home feels they are compelled to perform at a different level and in a different way. In outdoor soccer, you want your home team to drive the game, and the visiting team might bunker or sit back or whatever phrase you want to use. Indoors, a little bit different, but not that different. So I just wonder if sometimes it's that the home team feels that responsibility to do something that the road team doesn't, and they can
Well,
pick
and
them off.
on top of that, something that Nick Vassos pointed out on last weekend's broadcast, everybody comes into Kansas City. If you look at the average attendance across the league, you actually get to play consistently in front of a big crowd in
Right.
Kansas City every game. There's this sense of we want to go there and we want to quiet those fans. So teams are extra motivated to win in Kansas City, and that's another element to all this too. And Baltimore, not the players, the fan base, there's a lot of defensiveness about this small field thing and how they never win on the road and they can only win because they've got this small field at CQ. And so there's a little bit of this collective chip on their shoulder about everybody hates us and we've got to prove that we can win anywhere. And I think you'll see some of that on Saturday night.
True. Anything left to say about this controversy?
Well, no, controversy, no, I would just say this has been an interesting week. If you look at ups and downs, we the Comets had not a great experience at Tacoma, and then it's like, okay, we've got games against the top teams in the league, and we've gotta run the table, we gotta do something to get results, and it's been a roller coaster week, and in some cases, a roller coaster couple hours.
Yeah.
Now how do you reset and be prepared just for Baltimore, knowing San Diego's back there, but really focusing on the task at hand because you cannot overlook the Baltimore Blast. They have too many talented players, and they will make you pay.
And as we said earlier, there's a lot of teams that are capable of finishing first to third or fifth even at this point. So Comets control their destiny in the fact that they could move themselves if they win out. They could be guaranteed pretty much of a second place finish. They'd have to do that. If they don't, if they split games or only win one or win none, they could end up in fifth or sixth.
I
That's
think they have an excellent chance of beating Baltimore. I think that they have an excellent chance of winning that home game at San Diego. If you do those 2 pieces, you have a lot of momentum for that return game in San
right.
Diego.
They have the capability to win both of those games. You're absolutely right. They've had the capability of beating some teams that came into Kansas City that were not in as strong a position as those two teams. And they may, again, I will go back to the Utica game. They should have won that game in a much easier fashion, and they didn't. Now it's mentality because they have the talent. Whatever you want to say, we'll have to see. There's 3 games left. This is why they play these games. They don't win them on paper at the beginning of the season, and we will also see if referees have a chip on their shoulder. I'm not going to say they are because I know they will go out and try to do a professional job. But there's also always the easy. You've been bad mouthed by somebody, you might be a little bit less likely to give them a call, even if it's not intentional.
That could go all sorts of ways. That could be, I'm hypersensitive that I'm gonna be criticized,
Yep.
so that could make you more lenient, or you could be the opposite, like you said, and so, I don't envy any refereeing crew coming in this weekend because I think all eyes are gonna be on them, and, but ultimately, the players have to play the game, and, the team that prepares adequately and executes will get the points.
Yeah, and I guess one of the real losers in this is Chad Vandergriff because he got a red card and basically missed a game and a half that he would have liked to have played and all that stuff.
He did, but, I mean, if you look, he went off the field. He didn't I mean, you've seen players in this league that would have taken off their jersey, they would have yelled at the referees, they would have, like,
Right.
made obscene gestures. He just jogged off the field, and, you didn't see him make any comments on social,
No,
and he showed up on Monday to a player appearance at Fox 4 and talk about a professional mindset. That's the kinda leader you need on your team heading into the playoffs.
Chad is a he is sometimes not the most exciting person to interview, but he is absolutely a class act. And every time I've dealt with him, that he tries to make sure he calmly answers, does all these things. He doesn't get overexcited. So yeah, he's been a class act. So all credit to him. All right. Anything else we need to discuss?
Hey, I just wanted to, we teased it last time, I can announce it. So,
Yeah.
season 3 of 10 for 10 launches this week. So, we're recording on Tuesday the 17th. Episode 1 will be, released on Wednesday the 18th. None other than Rob Stone, the Fox Sports World Cup host, will be my first guest. He has an interesting backstory that includes having grown up watching the MISL, playing indoor soccer as a kid, and he has a story to share. And so this is going to be part of what we'll attempt to do this season is connect people who have some indoor soccer in their past and talk about how indoor soccer has helped bridge soccer in this country heading towards the World Cup. So it was an honor to speak with him, and hopefully people will appreciate what he has to say.
Yeah, I would say that the 10 for 10 is starting late, but considering that the part of the goal is to connect indoor to out to the World Cup, I understand why it's starting now and will probably run into past the MASL season or
Oh, it'll absolutely run past the MASL
okay.
season, and I'm not sure whether they're going to, tease some of the names, but I can tell you that there are 2 Kansas Cityans in this year's core of 10, and so, I think, fans will have, a lot to watch, and not just the people who remember the '80s and '90s. I think people who are gonna be focusing on World Cup, you're gonna see names and recognize faces of people in US soccer, and that you don't necessarily associate with indoor soccer,
Right.
but you can see how indoor soccer was the through line to where we are today.
Yeah, and I've always, I've said many times here, I love indoor soccer. I like outdoor soccer too. And if somebody's going to pay me the same amount of money to play either one, I would choose indoor because I enjoyed it much more playing it. But it's not the world's version of the game. But there are so many people and so many kids that play indoor soccer as the alternative to playing outdoor soccer. When they in the winter or as extra games during the summer and things like this. So it has that connection, and there's a ton of people around this country that have played it.
And to correct myself, there's actually 3 Kansas City connections. Somebody who, I interviewed who recently moved back to Kansas City. So there's a lot for, Kansas City soccer fans to get
Yes.
excited about, and, I hope people watch, stream, share, etcetera. But those gonna be Wednesday releases on, MASL social media.
So we'll be looking for that. We'll be looking for the review show that MASL does on calls. We'll be looking for that. And did you see the announcement? Team moving up to MASL.
I did. Their application, I'm hearing good things about it. This is Oklahoma City, so you might recall, Thad, that the MASL Combine was hosted last October in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
It gave, league leadership an opportunity to see their facility, talk with ownership. They're currently in M2, and, what I heard from, Christian Philly Filliman, who called games down there, it's a beautiful place, 8,000 seat arena, great opportunity for road trips for Comets fans, and,
Yep.
you start thinking about how you can make the schedule look a little different than what it has. You add in Oklahoma City, and, that definitely helps. I I think Harrisburg's coming back. Whether they're gonna be called Harrisburg, I don't know. They're
Yeah.
playing in Hershey, Pennsylvania, former home of the Hershey Impact, I should say. Uh, and I'm hearing a couple other things too, and so I think that this league could look very different geographically in,
Right.
when the season kicks off again next fall.
I'm sure I mentioned this on one of the previous pods, but Harrisburg moving to Hershey, I just wish they would rebrand from the Harrisburg Heat to the Hershey Hot Chocolate.
They could. Hey, there's absolutely a sponsorship tie-in if they can figure this one out.
Yeah. Gotta get Hershey to buy into it, but
That's exactly right.
and Oklahoma City would be the Certified Lions.
Certified Lions, I don't know if they'll wanna put OKC or anything on it, but that's their name as it is, but,
Do you
I
know why they're named that?
I have not investigated that, but I'm sure there is a reason. I would just say that if you're thinking geographically, a market that doesn't have that much competition, Oklahoma City has an NBA team.
Yep.
So
Who
they can turn out for professional sports, they just don't have the whole suite.
right. But the downside would be that would be in the same time span of their games, like their
Fair, but,
windows, the
would you really
seasons.
expect them to schedule soccer nights on the same night as the Thunder?
No,
Probably not. I'm sure they would look for
no.
alternate nights.
So again, it's one of those people always like, oh, you should put a team here, should put a team there. First of all, you have to find an owner that's willing to put out the money and all the infrastructure and risk the money and all that stuff. That's people always, but it would be a great opportunity for Wichita to come back to uh,
Comes
first
down to the
first
money,
division.
right? And
Yep.
I get that fans want, "Let's bring back the Cleveland Crunch." Okay, sign a line of credit, guarantee that you have money to operate MASL, and here you are. It's
Yeah.
not just so simple as saying it'd be great to be back in these markets, and
Yeah. Exactly. It's
Yeah.
I don't tell people how to spend their money. Although, I might have joked with this earlier, but if MASL really wants to punish Budzinski, they should make him go work for the ambush.
You might have texted that to me. You might
I'm,
have.
ki- I'm kidding. I just got to poke fun at St. Louis. Um, I think we're probably running short on time. You got to get to another meeting, I'm sure.
Always.
But I appreciate the time, and we're out.